From the CPU not attacking at all, to literally taking out your opponent with one hit. Today we are taking on the 1995 SNES game Killer Instinct, with the help of the Game Genie. Hello friends, it's Tim here from Super Mayhem. Oh! And boy howdy do we have some game hacking action for you today. For those of us growing up with retro games, Killer Instinct was one of those games that took 2D fighting to the next level. Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat were the staples, but out of seemingly nowhere came this intense black cartridge fighting game that had next level graphics and insane characters, put together in a fight to the death. You knew it meant business. So join with me if you will as we explore a bunch of cheats, exploits and game glitches for Killer Instinct with the help of the Game Genie. On with the show. Starting off with a fun one, if you enter in this 3-line Game Genie code, you will be able to play as Eyedol no matter which character you actually choose. That's right, that two-headed Cyclops thing that is usually the boss is now a playable character for you straight off the bat. I still got my butt kicked pretty bad since I haven't played this game for about 20 years, but I still remembered to button mash once I had lost all of my life to at least come back for a brief moment before Thunder finished me off. I'm sure this is some old muscle memory kicking in here, because I totally forgot that this was an option. Next up I was intrigued by the code DDB1-140F, which was titled No Jumps, and it turned out to be pretty hilarious. As the code name suggests, you can't jump and when you try to, well, it looks like the character is doing ultra fast squats, and they kind of flutter in place. It's not that handy, but it sure is a fun glitch code. If you just want to see the different endings for different characters, you can use the Game Genie code CB64-4D61. And with this in place, whenever you start a game, you automatically go to the character's ending scene. I'm personally glad that Jago will go on to work on self-improvement now that he has beat the crap out of a dinosaur. It's a fun code if you just want to see the end screen and credits without any fighting at all. Up next is a way more fun glitched weird code. If you enter in the Game Genie code 6D8C-CDAD, you will have unlocked the code that is called Almost One Button Moves /Enders /Finishes, and this turned out to be super weird. Playing as Spinal this time, whenever I pressed the A button, the match would automatically end on a humiliation, but if I pushed the Y button, he would turn into a cloud and automatically do a combo breaker. This got even weirder when I turned into my opponent's Saberwolf and then did a combo myself, and then bam, the game froze. I don't know if it was something I did or not, but man, this is a wacky and super fun code to try. Another fun one to give a go is 6DAD-4FD7, and when you enter in this bad boy, the CPU just won't attack. This makes it essentially training mode, except you can progress through characters and beat the game. But since there already is a training mode for the game, this does make it a little bit useless, but it's still fun to see this effect from the Game Genie, and I guess it could allow you to show off to your friends or even woo potential love interests at your amazing control of Killer Instinct. But I'm not sure if the Game Genie can go that far. Next up, if you enter in 6DC1-4F04 as your Game Genie code, any hit made will automatically drain all of the remaining health bar of the victim. Essentially this is a one-hit KO cheat, but it can also happen to you. This even led to an amusing situation where somehow I hit my opponent at the same time as they hit me, leading us to both losing all of our health and standing there in a daze. Unfortunately they got the win as I fell down first, but it was still pretty funny to see it happen. But don't worry, I used the continue and got my revenge. This next 5-line code is pretty insane. Basically, whenever player 1 attacks, they will hit their opponent no matter where they are. So it doesn't matter where you are on the screen, as long as you attack, the other player will cop damage. And this is actually quite fun, as you can just kick in mid-air and your opponent on the other side of the screen will take damage. Naturally this makes fighting opponents a little bit too easy, but it is a cool code to have in your back pocket if you want to try and speedrun the game or something. But if you want, you can even take this a step further and just use the one-line Game Genie code DE66-3DD7. And with this in play, the moment the fight starts you will just instantly win. You don't even need to press any buttons or do anything. The game will just cycle through each character, and the moment the fight starts you instantly progress as the winner. I guess this does take a little bit of fun out of the game, but I always find it amusing to see what you can do with the Game Genie. Next up, I had to try the code DD84-CD6D, which was labelled as one button finishes and humiliation, which I thought sounded pretty cool. Well, it turns out that this code will instantly end the round the moment either character attacks. In my first round with Orchid, I got humiliated right off the bat, which is when I learned that it could be used against me. But from there I went through trying different buttons to see what end moves I could pull off. It turns out the A button still acts as a kick, but I got to see one of Glacier's finishing moves at least. The next round I thought I would try pressing L, just to see what happened, and well, the game did enter the finishing phase, but then the game got stuck and we just kinda looked at each other and couldn't progress. I suspect this was a level dependent finish move or something. It's pretty neat though. This next 3-line code is a classic for fighting games, and when you enter in all 3 of these you will have infinite health during your battles. This means you can get beat up as much as you want without your health bar ever moving. There isn't a lot more to say about this other than it is super handy and useful if you want the satisfaction of winning without one button kills or anything else. For this next 4-line code I kept the previous code enabled just to test things out, but it was pretty interesting. When you have this 4-line code in place, the stage no longer has any boundaries. This had an interesting effect for me on Glacier's level, as I kept jumping to the left and the background just kept wrapping around and looping. There were a few graphical glitches, but all in all this was kind of neat as you don't get stuck fighting in the one area. This would be a fun one for you to try out on other levels too. I was super intrigued by a code that was labelled Victim Falls Off Rooftops Unexpected Ways Periodically, which was the Game Genie code EEB0-1FD7. But I couldn't get it to work unfortunately, so this clip is now just showing a 2-line code that makes it so you always fight Orchid, which is cool and all, but not as cool as people periodically falling off rooftops. There are a bunch of other codes that make it so you only fight one particular character, but there's not much to say about them. But in the spirit of fun, I had to try the code DDB1-1F6F, which was simply named Up Jumps Are Super High, and boy did it deliver. The moment you press up on the D-pad, boom, you blast up off the screen. I'm not sure if this gives you much benefit other than being able to hide from your opponent for extended periods of time whilst you are exploring orbit, but it's a pretty fun code and it gave me a smile, so that's gotta be worth something. And the last code we will take a look at is CCE8-47D2, which lets you beat the game after only one victory. This had some weird glitchy effect on the player roster, with some sprites being scrambled, but as the name suggests, once you beat the first player, you instantly beat the game. I did have another code in place here whilst trying this, which claimed that there would be no player collision, but I didn't really notice much difference personally. Maybe a more trained eye on Killer Instinct will be able to see something I missed. So anyway, that's it for today my friends. I do hope you enjoyed checking out these Killer Instinct SNES game cheats. If you did, then be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you are new, share this video with your friends, and also leave a comment down below sharing which code was your favourite. And with all that said, I'll catch you soon my friends.